You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it. And now, your hosts, Michael, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, and welcome to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. I am Jordan Lowe.
My name's Cliff Barnes.
I'm Seth.
We have headphones.
Yeah.
Two headphones and a microphone.
2 turntables and a microphone. We got some new equipment we've upgraded. We've got that sweet mixer we talked about before. And we've upgraded a few of the mics, so we are giving this a spin. So
Yeah.
we got Cliff running the control board over here, and this might sound way better. You might not know a difference. I don't know. We're all, this is new territory. Quiet, you. I can hear every snark through my headphone.
Yeah, who knew after all these 2.5 years that Michael was right about the headphones?
Look, I wish you guys could all see Cliff as our neon green or
Gotta be stylish.
Carly's.
Maybe.
I think mine are from 1992. And
Yeah, I think those look like a Christmas 2015.
Yeah, it does say a lot about our choices in life and our headphones we wear.
You got 2 scoops on your microphone. You got to call back people to remember.
Well, the ones I had, as you can see,
Got
I
2
know
guys.
you guys can see, but the audience can't see.
It's ridiculous.
double bagging it.
It's gotta be safe. No, the foam windscreen I have at home, I have several of them, but our cat that I've talked about before keeps finding them and like eating them. So
This cat's the gift that keeps on giving.
it really is. Thanks, Seth. So the ones I had, they're just cheap foam covers, and the new microphone I didn't have one that fit. So I had to cut the top off of one, stretch it on over to the backside, and then take what was left of the other one and then put it over top of that.
It looks like a 1980s, like, let's get physical, like,
Yeah.
you've layered your athletic socks.
It's like avocado green and kind of orange. So
Goes with the headphones.
We need to take some pictures of this new setup
Oh my
to
god.
chronicle our evolution, and that mic should be front and center.
So what are we doing today?
I don't know if we got any new listeners or anything after hearing our big musical performance podcast. Welcome. We talk about all kinds of pop culture stuff. Basically, we all just sit around and watch everything, so we like to talk about it. Michael's not here and he hasn't seen Black Panther, so I guess we're talking about Black Panther before he gets here.
That worked out well.
Yeah.
He should walk in right when we start in a minute. So, why don't you set us up here, Jordan?
Yeah, so we'll just devote an entire episode, as we have been wont to do in the past. This was a huge, huge movie in our world, and I'm sure we're all dying to talk about it and debate it and review it and spoil it. So we're going to talk plot, we're going to talk beginning, middle, and end, and we're going to give away everything. So if you haven't seen Black Panther yet, if you're the one who hasn't seen it yet, save this for later. But if not, tune in, because I'm dying to talk about it.
Yeah, I've actually seen it twice.
Ooh.
It's all back-to-back nights.
How have you had time with all the editing you're supposed to be doing?
Well, it was a miracle. I didn't watch anything else all week. I went and saw Friday and Saturday night, went to Black Panther both nights, and then the rest of the week I just kind of holed up in the editing room for hours upon hours recording music.
Who different people you went with? Or what?
Yeah, Friday night, Cooper wanted to go see it. So my son had a night off work. He works at Burger King. So Friday night off doesn't happen very often. So I knew he wanted to see, he had this Friday night off, and I was like, okay, we'll just go to the show, the late show, and catch it. And then it just so happened I had made those plans with him, and then my daughter plays volleyball on Friday night, and we ran into some friends. And a buddy of mine, his daughter also plays, and I said something to him about playing, like, oh, hey, I think we're going to go see Black Panther. And he was like, oh, okay, yeah. He's like, give me a call tomorrow and we'll go see that. And I was like, well, I haven't done anything with him for a long time. Sounds like a good time, so I'll just see it again. I'm not even going to say anything. I'm just going to go see it again. So
just act surprised.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, another of our tradition is to gripe about the theater where we saw it. I went to our local Odyssey Theater in Marietta on Tuesday night. They had their cheap $5 deal. So I waited all weekend, got through the weekend with no spoilers or anything. So people are getting better at that, knowing not to post stupid stuff on social media. So good job out there. So Tuesday night, the 9:40 showing, there were maybe 10 people in the theater. The person 2 rows ahead of me was on their cell phone every 15 minutes. And then clear in the front, there were 3 children who were probably 3rd graders, if I had to guess, unaccompanied to a 9:40 showing. And then when I left the theater at midnight, they were running around the parking lot. And as I'm pulling out, I see a minivan pulling in. I'm like, "You're the mother. Yeah. You are the delinquent mother.
Are the mother.
I should have words with you." But not terribly, not my worst movie going experience. So
great. I saw it. I don't know, a couple of days after it came out in that same theater, I'm sure. Which that's the biggest theater in there, Theater 5, and now that screen's got something on it. It's got, I noticed it's got like a stain in one part of it and stuff. I'm like, get it fixed.
It's been a while since I've got new glasses, so you point out things that I don't notice.
I don't either.
So I'm worried that I'm missing a lot in life.
It's alright. It's just when it's like, you notice right away when they put up the full green screen preview, I'm like, okay, then something sticks out. For the most part during a movie, you don't notice that kind of stuff. Anyway, so you did a video on our Facebook page and shared it around, kind of giving a history of Black Panther in the comics, and I'm interested for you to, recap that for these.
Well, not as much history as I wanted to. I kind of ran out of time in the 5-minute video, but yeah, I have been rereading Fantastic Four. I've read the first 60 issues of Fantastic Four in the last few months. And I'm just loving every minute of it. But I had read, of course, Black Panther premiered in Fantastic Four number 52 in 1966.
And that's right after the big Galactus stuff.
Right.
Correct?
So in the video, I wanted to go over the run Lee and Kirby had within a year. They introduced the Inhumans. They introduced Galactus and Silver Surfer. Just a dozen issues in a row that are just stone cold classic. And then the last one of that run is the Black Panther showing up. And I was like, well, I'll mention that, and then I'll get into the topical stuff about what it meant for African Americans, and I ran out of time. So I spent like 4 minutes like, and then in this issue, this happened, and it was really good. So I thought that topic probably needs a longer discussion anyway, so now's a better time to get into it. So yeah, I thought that topic deserved a little bit, more in-depth discussion. So I wanted to get into that because that's the overtones of this movie were there from the start, and what it meant to a whole culture. And we're seeing news reports of, well-known African Americans buying whole theaters to show to children's groups, and and social media posts and reaction videos of kids. I've seen several pictures of kids like staring up at the screen in wide-eyed wonder, and like people just showing what that means. And that's easy, like, yeah, that's cool. It's so easy to gloss over that, but especially rereading all these old comics, it really strikes you. Because I had always heard, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby are the Marvel was the forward-thinking group. They were ahead of their time. And I had, all right, DC guy, just let that go without comment. But that's what I'd always heard. And then I'd heard that Stan insisted in adding more people of color and pushing those boundaries. So I was like, when did that start? 'Cause Fantastic Four is the first Marvel comic. So I kept an eye out as I'm reading, looking in the background. Oh, there's a whole bunch of police running up. Well, they're all white. There's a bunch of news reporters. They're all white. There's a shopping mall. Everyone's white. Every human being in that book has white skin. And that generation, I can't even imagine. Because, today, we have tons of diversity in everything. Every kid's story, every movie, every cartoon. we have rainbows of people. And even in our generation, it was maybe more, maybe the token character. G.I. Joe would always have Alpine show up and, but it was still, they were portrayed, they were around. But just a generation before us, there was nothing. So if you were growing up then as a kid who wasn't white, I can't imagine feeling like A, this isn't for me, and B, where do I belong? Because there's nothing that shows what I can be. And again, watching all these old movies, scratching off this poster we've been talking about for a while, if you saw a black character, it was a butler, or it was, some laborer in some of these movies from the 30s and 40s. So it was really striking, especially growing up. I said, when we did, it's easy to forget that in our childhood, there was a push for that. It wasn't enough by far, but it had at least started. So, yeah, going through these Fantastic Four, I said there was one issue set in Africa, and it was, bones through the noses, worshipping fire, not the most progressive thinking. And it wasn't until it was annual number 3, so it had been around 3 years before Gabriel Jones showed up, who was in Nick Fury's Howling Commandos. So we had, Gabe Jones had been around before Black Panther, but he was still just a soldier. He wasn't the star of any of the books or anything. So it was cool that, they had integrated the military before the U.S. actually did. And we had Robbie Robertson in the Spider-Man books, who was, I think, a couple years after Black Panther. But again, he was he worked for a newspaper. He wasn't putting on tights and saving the day. So they started integrating characters, but Black Panther was the first time. Here's a guy in the suit who his first appearance, he beat the Fantastic Four. He is every bit as smart as Reed Richards and as capable as any other hero. And he pulls that mask off and it's a black face. And that meant something then, and it still means something today. So this movie, we are how deep into the Marvel Universe, and we've had a few supporting characters. Hey, the Falcon's cool, and, we've had diversity, but we haven't had the hero. And you can't convince me that's not important. And the outpouring we've seen from the black community has proven that.
It's ridiculous, that it is 2018 and it feels so groundbreaking for this to be happening right now, to have a movie with so many African Americans carrying the movie. It's amazing that this isn't normal.
And even to be set in Africa. How many movies are set in Africa, about Africa, with an African cast? It just doesn't happen. I made some notes. I don't want to do a whole history lesson, but just to talk about how rare this is. 1947, there was a famous couple of issues, all Negro comics. Forgive me, but that was the title of it. It's the first known comic written and drawn by an entirely African American creators, and all the characters were African American. So we had Lion Man, who was an African superhero protecting a village in Africa, I believe, and there's Ace Harlem, police detective, a jive talking
Ace
police.
Harlem.
Ace Harlem.
Man, why is that on my Twitter name?
So this was groundbreaking. 1947. It didn't last long. They had no money. They didn't have any distribution, but I don't remember how many issues it lasted, but that's where it basically started. And does anyone know the first African American character to headline his own series? I'm gonna guess no, because it was Dell Comics. It lasted 2 issues. It was a Western called Lobo. And it was a black cowboy. And it lasted 2 issues, like I said. Then I said we worked in a few in the 1940s. The Young Allies had a character named Whitewash, who was that very, like Will Eisner's The Spirit had the sidekick drawn very...
What is he doing in there? Crashing plates around.
Whitewash.
What's the term of the stereotypical... Yeah, like a minstrel show kind of look to things.
I was thinking Bing Crosby.
Right.
All slathered up in blackface.
The 1950s, Atlas, which is what Marvel Comics evolved from, they published Jungle Tales, And they had a series called Waku, Prince of Bantu, which is the first known mainstream feature starring a black guy.
Starring a black.
I'm trying to.
I know.
Yeah. And then, like I said, the war books, Sergeant Fury and Howling Commandos, 1963 is when Gabriel Jones showed up. But before them, DC, Our Army at War, introduced Jackie Johnson in the Easy Company. So yeah, DC beat them to that. So that was it. Before 1966, those were the highlights we could point to of black evolution. And then we followed it, 1967, Robbie Robertson in Spider-Man. 1969, Sam Wilson in Captain America as the Falcon. He's the first African American because, of course, T'Challa's African. So Sam Wilson is the first American guy. 1971, The New Gods introduced the Black Racer. And then it wasn't until 1972, Luke Cage Hero for Hire came out, the first starring role. It wasn't just a sidekick or a feature. Then after that, Black Goliath showed up in Avengers and Storm in the X-Men throughout the 70s. And on the DC side of things, they introduced Jon Stewart as Hal Jordan's Green Lantern backup in 1972. And then Black Lightning was their first solo series in 1977, followed shortly by Cyborg and the Teen Titans. So the fact that I can basically point out every important black character for half a century of comic books, should tell you something, that it shouldn't have taken the movie universe this long to get in on that. So I don't know, but I might be rambling, but I felt like that was, some context to put this in.
Yeah, I was at work and a couple or more veteran women working there were asking me what I'm sure you went and saw Black Panther. I was like, yeah, and they were like, oh, what was it? Was it good? I was like, yeah, it was good. And it's just, it was almost cute how racist they were. No, I mean, they're great people. I just they're trying so hard. But they felt like it wasn't for them. This isn't for us, right? I'm like, yeah, it's for everybody. I was like, it's just like all the other Marvel movies. I was like, I swear you will enjoy it just as much. Well,
Hollywood is a lot of times is still kind of segregated.
Yeah.
There's Tyler Perry movies, and there's every Christmas like a romance will come out with Nia Long and Omar Epps or whatever, and it's like they're marketed to one audience, and white people don't really go see them, but they make their money back, and very rarely are those like movies for everybody. And this definitely is. This is a blockbuster superhero movie. This is not a niche market.
I think it's the combination of the cast is so, heavily African American, and it's this African theme on top of that they're just, they're just hesitant to think that it's for them and that they're going to get it and things like that. I was like, well, I am doing my due diligence and duty to tell you that this is absolutely for everyone and you'll like it, and that they have had to watch us in every movie all this time, and they finally have a movie that, is representing they can see themselves on screen, and you should go see it and support it and realize that, it doesn't matter.
Hey, I went and saw it twice.
Yeah. But
I saw it for me and for Michael.
Yeah. Anyway, so definitely encourage everyone to go see it, not be scared. I not that I'm worried about nobody going to see this movie that has broke a bazillion records. I'm not. I wouldn't even list. The only important record I know is that in the first weekend, it still made more money than Justice League did in its whole run. So that's the most important record.
Rub it in.
So it wasn't, in my mind, the political nature of it was more off screen. It's what it's meant and the people it's inspiring. The movie wasn't terribly political.
No.
It wasn't preachy.
No.
Unless you disagree.
Well, I mean, the bad guy Are we spoiling from the beginning?
Yeah, Nobody's voted since Larry, so
we're not having a spoiler section. So this is just it. We're talking about the movie. If you haven't seen it, don't listen. Larry says we can say whatever we want.
Right.
Killmonger is, he's got a real Magneto feel, to him, and I felt like it was a little politic,
There at the end, I mean, the last couple statements were definitely, but
I liked them. I mean, it was good. I enjoyed the heavy-handedness to it and stuff, but I can see, that being considered
But it wasn't the plot of the movie.
No.
And it wasn't out to teach us all a lesson. It was still a popcorn, fun superhero movie.
Oh, yeah.
But it had layers that a lot of these movies don't. So if you want to dive into the politics, you can get that extra thing out of it, but it's not the only thing, in the movie.
So,
I've got the box office currently on, what is today, Friday the 2nd? Yeah, $704 million US dollars. So.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Tell us all about it, Jordan.
I've been talking a lot. So Civil War is where we left Black Panther. His father was killed. He takes up the mantle and takes Bucky back to Wakanda, and that's where we're left. So, I don't know, were you expecting more Avengers references and more ties to the Marvel Universe?
I didn't think so, no. I expected, I should say, that it wouldn't be really Avengers heavy. I thought, if anything, it would be at the end. Just from the trailer here, it pretty much tells you it's all in Africa, so.
Yeah, it was pretty much what I expected. I thought they would keep to this main story, talking about that. We got the past. I mean, it was definitely, you didn't know exactly what was going on. You're seeing, it's so funny that it was Sterling K. Brown, because they do that on that show. It's like, you don't know who these people are in the scene. You're going to find out later.
It was when they cast that, I just assume, give me an actor that's done this before.
Yeah. I was playing before we started recording, I was playing some Too Short for these guys. I was so tickled at the beginning of that movie when they were playing In the Trunk, Too Short, because they're in Oakland. That's where he's from. I was like, this is the best. I was so on board.
Now, there was something I noticed. Michael's not here, so I'm going to bring this up. There was something I noticed, I guess I didn't, in Civil War. T'Chaka, the older version of him when he gets killed. What's up with the eye?
He must have a glass eye.
That's what I assume, but is that
I didn't notice it till this movie, but it was very obvious that he either had a glass eye or it just didn't move. He obviously couldn't move it.
Right.
Yeah,
was that just something that came along with the actor, or was that did they pick an actor because of a character?
I was kind of assuming it was for Forrest Whitaker. Anyone who was related had to have that lazy eye, like the younger actor who played young Forrest Whitaker.
He had it too.
All this first 20 minutes of all.
Hey, I love Forrest Whitaker, crazy eye and all.
Yeah.
Let's talk more about people's eyes.
What about his face? Was it the right?
Was it elongated?
And then what were the group of women? The Dora Milaje, is that how they pronounce it? I'm sure. What we had Michonne.
Yeah.
Well, which I don't know what her name was in the movie.
Okoye.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I don't know, and Lupita Nyong'o, Nakia, and there's one other girl. I don't know her name yet. Anyway, it was
Letitia Wright.
Well, yeah, she his sister. I loved the way they treated him. All of it. They were just totally not intimidated by him. It didn't matter. It was just like he's their. They all had like a brother-sister relationship with him, and. It was just they were all on the same level.
Yeah, right from the get-go when Black Panther's on that first mission and she tells him don't freeze.
Right.
And he's like, I never freeze. That was wonderful. And then they brought it back around with the sister. Did he freeze?
Because I think that character of T'Challa could be kind of wooden and one note if he didn't have a supporting cast. So having these very colorful, interesting characters around him, lessens him having to carry the movie.
Yeah, well,
because he's very stoic and very serious, and I don't know if he could do it just by himself.
Well, full disclosure, when I, was in my youth reading these comics, I thought he was the most boring character. I mean, I seriously I didn't dislike the character, but I would never buy it. Or, he was in the Avengers here and there, and I was like so bored.
I've heard people say that he's a much better supporting character in the comics than he ever was as the starring superhero.
I mean, I'm sure that's just some of the writing and things, how he was used. This was totally different. Like you're saying, just having all these characters around him and the richness to the world and Wakanda and everything was just over the top great. That's what that character needed
and he was very good in Civil War too, playing off because he's not going to quip with Tony and Spider-Man and
you can't all be the wisecracking character, right?
So he fit very well there, and he fit really well here.
I thought that all the casting, the whole movie was great.
It took kind of a turn though, as far as recent Marvel and the jokiness. There was very little.
Yeah, not nearly as much in this film.
Yeah, the sister Shuri was kind of the only real one to make any wisecracks or anything.
She's the sister on Stranger Things, Erica. Is that her name? She's the Shuri is the Erica of this movie. She's we just saw announced that Erica is going to play a bigger role in Stranger Things season 3, and this Shuri is the star of this movie. Like, I mean, I loved her. I mean, I have such high hopes.
The sandal scene was just. It took me out. Like I both times I saw it, I was cracking up. It took me out of the movie because it was so funny. Well, she's going through her lab with Black Panther, T'Challa, and showing upgrade of equipment and stuff like that. And she walks over, and he's got these just basic black sandals on, and she gives that "What are those?" line out, and she outfits him with some new sneakers that
now that was totally supposed to be a Back to the Future reference with the
I assume that much.
And I mean, this was such I listened to an interview with Ryan Coogler, and it was obviously and intentionally James Bond type thing. The first scene is a mission that isn't really referred to the rest of the movie. It's just something that happened, and then she's basically Q, the tech gadget, going to give him some gadget to use on his mission, and she was just great. Like, as we see Robert Downey Jr. leaving, being phased out of Marvel here soon.
Well, in the comic, Shuri for a stretch takes over as Black Panther.
And it almost did that.
Yeah, that could...
It easily... I loved when they were like... I was like, they're going to do that. Like, for a second, I really thought they were going to give her the suit or whatever, and then they're like talking amongst themselves. I mean, I may not remember it right, but it was almost like, we're not even going to ask him. We're deciding, all the girls were deciding how it was going to go down, and I just think, they could have easily done that, but, let's not throw everything into this movie. But I more see her as being the next
that bright
Iron Man.
spot, yeah.
I mean, she can be Marvel's new tech person, and I love that idea. I think, and I'm sure you know more about this than I do. The Ironheart character,
right?
Now, I think that's an African American girl character.
Right. Riri Williams is like a teenager, and super genius who built her own. She retrofitted some Stark armor, found some stuff on the dark web, and created her own armor in her garage that rivaled Tony Stark. So that introduced a new female Iron Man, as Tony has been AWOL for a while.
Well, I can totally see them co-opting that and just doing it, you know, making her that character, or however I would love that. I think she's awesome.
The other one that really stood out for me was Lupita Nyong'o. I thought she was stunning in this movie. Like, she is just beautiful. And at first, the only thing I could think of was, my God, Star Wars, why would you cover her up as Maz Kanata looking like a little orange raisin woman when she looks like that?
Yeah, she looks out of this world. She could have, she could have been her own race in Star Wars. I totally agree.
Well, that's might be a touchy subject, but there's a long history of covering up black actors. And, in sci-fi movies, or, Lieutenant Worf has to have a crazy forehead, and we paint, Gamora, what's that actress's name?
Oh, Zoe
Saldana. Yeah, in half her movies, she's a different color alien, so there is, film criticism that has
even LeVar Burton in Star Wars, he had that visor,
so yeah, not everybody's Star Trek. Yeah, not everybody's Lando Calrissian. So.
Star Trek.
So, I love the whole face-off that that they would have to do in the water and clearing the waterfall to have it. I mean, I don't know whether this kind of stuff is in the comics at all, or if it was written in.
It is, yeah. Black Panther. It's a role that's passed down, but it's not a straight up monarchy where the son has to be worthy, kind of like Thor. It's a title that he possesses, but if he's not up to it, someone else can take over. So that's been in the comics for quite a while.
Yeah, that stuff was all good. Let's talk about Killmonger for a minute. The Michael B. Jordan is awesome. And I loved everything he did in this movie. That first scene in the museum.
Yeah.
When he sees that mask, he's just like, I just dig it. I'm just taking it. I just dig it. And that's, I've seen that in the comics, like, his character wear that type of mask.
Yeah, that was referenced from, I couldn't tell you where, but that's from the books, yeah.
Anyway, that was all good.
I said, as our number one criticism with any Marvel movie is usually the villain.
Yeah.
And I think both villains here, Claw and Killmonger, are great. Mm-hmm. These are the best two villains. Either villain could carry a movie by themselves, I think. So, yeah, I don't want to overlook Claw, because he is Black Panther's arch nemesis. I assumed we had more to go with him. So as that scene's going on, they're exchanging bullets. I'm like, well, he's going to get out of this, because there's no way they're going to. Oh, he's dead. I was really shocked they killed him off that early. Especially because Andy Serkis every scene he was in was just.
He tore it up.
Yeah. I love the. There's really only a couple white guys in this movie. Andy Serkis and Martin Freeman, and I love the quote saying they were the Tolkien white guys. When you had Bilbo and.
I gotta say, the one scene took me out of the movie because I just got in my own head and started chuckling. Was when they're breaking out the thing out of the museum and the axe, and he goes full Yukon Cornelius on it and sniffing it. Vibranium. Nothing.
That's great. But yeah, anyway, his motivations, Killmonger's, were good. You could sympathize with them. You knew what he was basically, standing up for his race, and how they'd been beaten down, and this is their technology and their stuff, and he wants to, he has a lot of pride, and you could totally sympathize with that. Obviously he wants to take it too far, but
yeah, all the people from Wakanda grew up with no worries and no wants.
Privilege. Yeah.
And he had to open their eyes, and what they did was probably wrong, abandoning him. You can see his point.
I don't know. Later on in the movie when I'm these final battle scenes and stuff, like, I'm getting a little wore out.
Well, this was the final big battle between Killmonger and Black Panther was, I've heard this from a lot of people, it was the worst part of the movie. It did not fit. Like, you have this beautiful African setting of Wakanda with the sunsets and all the stuff going on, and we choose to be on a subway train or track.
No, we are on a literal underground railroad.
Jeez.
That's gotta be something. They didn't. I
didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
I was so looking at the bad CGI, the cartoonish.
But that really bothers me because it's so everything else is great about it. Their fight, where he wins it from him, in the water.
Yeah,
that was magnificent.
Exactly.
Why we have something so great and then we end up in that Wonder Woman ending in the dark. It's always got to be dark because it's the easiest way to do CGI, and it still is not good. And they're both in those boring Black Panther suits. I don't like the costume.
I'd love to hear Michael's take on the design aesthetics, but that just one's one color and one's the other color. That seemed
that's the weakest part of the movie. You're right. It needs said that I wish they could find a way to not have every one of these superhero movies have to have a scene. Basically the third act is always everybody is everywhere fighting.
Right.
It's funny you mentioned Wonder Woman because I just saw it a second time.
Yeah.
I only saw it in theaters once, so I just rewatched it and I re-listened to our review of it, and I thought, wow, my review of Black Panther is going to be very similar. Like, it didn't have to be that good to be socially important, but it was, luckily. But it kind of fell apart by the end. So my takeaway of Wonder Woman is very similar to this.
I totally agree. They are very parallel in with their message. They really are making strides like Wonder Woman did for women. This does for African Americans, and getting this more out there in the pop culture. But yeah, it had a couple weak points, but. Far and away, it was still a solid Marvel movie.
Just while we're talking about the design and things, like, that's the other criticism of Marvel is how colorless it is, how bland it is, and
not this movie. No,
the look of Wakanda was incredible. The costumes, the makeup, just really, really nice.
So I assume, it seems pretty obvious. We've seen previews for Infinity War. And that this is there's gonna be some sort of fighting in Wakanda. This obviously, I use the term loosely, but obviously the Soul Stone is in this meteor, right?
We're going to send a rhinoceros after Thanos.
This is the only stone that...
Yeah, there's still a stone unaccounted for, and we didn't...
And the Soul Stone, come on. That seems pretty on the nose, that the soul, there's going to be some soul.
Maybe that train track they fight on was a soul train.
But we find out at the very beginning of the movie that the meteor comes down and this is what gives them their vibranium, and it's like, so it's gotta be in that meteor. Called it. I'm just saying that you heard it here, folks.
Go out on a limb. But yeah, this movie did a good job setting up Avengers, not in any plot way, but, or a specific plot way, but in, forcing Black Panther. There's no reason for Black Panther to go hang out with the Avengers until they open up Wakanda's borders and he realizes he has a bigger fight to fight. So in the thematic way, it leads to Avengers. I was a little disappointed, what's Captain America up to? What's going to happen next? But we didn't get that, but we got a logical reason for Black Panther to be in the midst of this fight.
The only other big thing we probably haven't hit on yet is the fifth tribe, was it Man-Ape? Is that who he is in the comics?
Yeah, that's a character from the comics.
Yeah, he's supposed to be based kind of on that character, but I don't know anything about him.
I didn't either, and I had seen some stuff online people talking about, them redeeming this character that I'd never heard of. So I didn't know if he was a big character in Black Panther comics or.
I'm not as far as I know.
Okay.
Just a name you hear or a punchline that Deadpool will bring up,
So who's gonna be the bad guy next time? Like you said, it was a surprise that these guys got killed off.
Well,
They went all DC on it.
Yeah. I could see them bringing Claw back in some way, because in the comics, Claw is a being made of sound who can create solid sound constructs, basically. And I could see, with the futuristic technology, we just saw his body. He was dead, but, Wakanda can work a lot of miracles. So I could see him coming back as a not quite human character if they wanted to go that way. Or you could just because again, he in the comics, or I forget how they said in Civil War, he killed his father, right? In Civil War? Or planted the bomb?
Yeah.
Okay, so in the comics, he kills T'Chaka. He is Black Panther's arch enemy. Like it's his, Lex Luthor or whatever. So yeah, I'm shocked that they'll keep making these movies without the main bad guy, so.
But even, Killmonger was even more interesting to me, and
right.
It's like
a very personal villain.
Yeah, I was shocked that in the way he died, and I hate to see that character just be gone. But he's not coming back. It's not. Michael B. Jordan is too.
Yeah, he's out
too
there
big
now.
Of a star.
Yeah,
But whatever these guys, we've all seen it online. I was like, just think, him and Chris Evans, the Human Torch, beginnings they came from, to now be these huge stars.
That's what you do. You cut your teeth on some crappy Fantastic Four movie, and then you move up.
I want to play the next Human Torch and see where my career goes. Oh, so I don't know whether maybe Daniel Kaluuya, his character, could be bigger in the next movie. I'm sure he'll be in it.
I really liked that character in the first half of the movie because it was that kind of pushing force to, he disagreed with the king.
Yeah.
And then he just switched almost evil. I can't buy him attacking his homeland, and it was just too easily.
He seemed too loyal and too good of a friend to turn that easily.
Even if he disagreed with it, I
right.
can imagine it coming to an attack. And then his wife being on the other side.
Yeah.
That seemed kind of tacked on. I don't know.
Oh, my God. Except, the end, they're going to basically, they choose to share this technology with the world, supposedly. And, not hoard all of this on Wakanda and their utopian society. That's we can help people in the world. Doing their part, and that, that's interesting, and to start right there in Oakland, back there where it all, started, and help those people first is a great idea.
Which inspired a real life situation I saw.
I don't know. Go.
Where I want to say Disney, but that may be incorrect, is opening a STEM center or something they call it in Oakland.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Kind of serve a similar purpose, so.
Cool.
Synergy. That's just
Walt Disney, you did it again.
You always like to end on the Walt Disney.
I'm sure it's like cryonic research to bring back frozen heads.
Right,
So you got some of that Wakanda tech and revive some frozen heads.
But there's some talk, that this technology will break the world, the universe as far as storytelling here. We can't have all this technology come out. These people are, it's some amazing stuff going on in Wakanda.
Yeah.
That's not going to work. So I'm sure that Infinity War is going to put a stop to a lot of this. There's going to be bigger things happening. They may not be able to spread the wealth around like they want to.
Well, we're going to find out sooner rather than later on that, so.
I know,
that's such a great backbone to this is power and responsibility. The whole Marvel ethos of, we have this amazing technology and we're being selfish with it. but we can't trust everyone to have it. It's too powerful. So it's that push and pull of, are we not doing enough? Are we doing too much? And that's a good, you could argue for hours about the themes, that theme specifically.
If you don't have anything else, let's
wrap it up.
Yeah.
I did just want to say again, you mentioned Riri Williams, the Ironheart, and I wanted to go on record of anything, if I've ever said anything before about those kind of characters and the way they're shoehorned in the continuity, I want to take all that back, because I've changed my mind on any of that. Because I think back, the characters that we knew as kids, I'm sure were shoehorned into stuff, sticking in new versions of this character and that character. And origins get retold. After decades, we forget how silly the origin was and we just accept them. So I think bring in characters like Ms. Marvel, the Muslim girl, Riri Williams, a young African-American who is interested in the sciences. Like, I read a letter from a young girl who, like, in her high school wanted to take, engineering classes and always felt kind of an outcast and like a nerd, and it wasn't her place. And she wrote in like, oh, when I saw Riri in her garage with a soldering iron, that really spoke to me. I was like, that girl now has a hero, and that's awesome. So I don't care how tacked on, how shoed in, what kind of token representation, like, that these characters exist is great. And Tony Stark will come back at some point. We'll always have Tony Stark. So let the other people shine for a little bit and make the world wider and let everyone have a hero they can root for. So we have that privilege that we have hundreds and hundreds of heroes to pick from. If I don't like this guy, I'll take that one. And how dare you shoehorn in on my character, and I want to read Tony Stark every month forever. Well, other people need those choices and chances too. So that's where I stand on that. I'm never going to badmouth again working in one of these characters, even if it's a obvious kind of silly origin to get them there. I think them being there is more important. So yeah, that's my soapbox statement.
Yeah, well, I totally agree. I feel the same way about let's move forward and give all this representation, but then I also, we cut our teeth on this stuff. I like my Cap to be Steve Rogers, and that's the most interesting to me. It's most personal to me because that's who that was the guy I connected to, when I started reading comics. But I don't have a bit of a problem if in the movies when they move away from Chris Evans, if it's, I can't even remember his name, guy who plays the Falcon.
Anthony Mackie.
If it's Anthony Mackie, or if they go with Sebastian Stan, whatever they end up doing, it's going to speak to somebody. So I don't own this. I guess what I'm saying. We've got whatever we wanted forever, so whatever they choose to give, somebody else gets to be representative, that's fine.
And me having a tiny fraction less, meaning someone else can have a whole lot more, I'll take that trade any day.
Right. All right, that's a good place to end it.
Okay, so plugs. You can find us at www.udownwithkpp.com. Also, we are at the Ka-Pow Podcast on Twitter. Find us on Facebook under Ka-Pow. Jordan?
Many great comics starring the Black Panther and all your favorites at Asylum Comics in Marietta.
You threw that
Full
in.
service.
As always, I am the shill Jordan Lowe.
And on a vibrating rhinoceros I ride, I guess. I'm Cliff Barnes.
I gotta play us out with some Too Short here from Black Panther. I'm Ace Harlem. Wakanda forever.
Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.udownwithkpp.com.
And we're out.